Hey Vikings!
Welcome back to this week's broadcast.
Today we have a special video for Veterans Day. We will watch our choir and band perform patriotic songs as well as hear from a former Northwest Viking about her time in the Air Force, and also talk to some current Vikings about their plans for serving in the military.
To start us off, let's watch a short video explaining Veterans Day.
You probably know that every year on November 11th, Americans celebrate Veterans Day to honor the millions of men and women who have served or are serving in the nation's armed forces. But bet you didn't know the whole story behind the holiday. For starters, it wasn't originally called Veterans Day, but Armistice Day, to commemorate the truce signed between the Allies and Germany in World War I on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month of 1918. The first Armistice Day in the U.S. was celebrated on November 11th, 1919. All business was suspended for 2 minutes starting at 11 a.m., and parades and public gatherings were held to commemorate the occasion. Later, America also began honoring its unknown soldiers on Armistice Day, a tradition that continues today. At 11 a.m. every Veterans Day, a color guard ceremony represents all branches of the military at the Tomb of the Unknowns in Arlington National Cemetery. In 1954, the name was changed to Veterans Day, following a national campaign to have the day honor all veterans, not just those who served in World War I. And did you know, for 7 years, Veterans Day was actually celebrated in October? In 1968, Congress moved Veterans Day to the fourth Monday in October so that government employees could enjoy a long weekend. But in 1975, President Gerald Ford returned Veterans Day to November 11th due to the historical significance, and that's where it sits on the calendar today. And do you know the difference between Memorial Day and Veterans Day? Both of them honor those men and women who have served in the military, but Memorial Day honors America's war dead, while Veterans Day honors all American veterans, living and dead. The U.S. Census Bureau estimates that there are currently over 21 million living military veterans in the United States. More than 16 million of these served during times of war, while 5.5 million served during peacetime only. So this Veterans Day, don't forget to say thanks to some of the millions of men and women who have served our country.
Thank you to Mr. Vieladal and 14 Karat Gold for the performance of An Americana Suite.
I love having the privilege of living in a free country.
We really are blessed to live in the United States. Now, let's talk to a former Northwest Viking about her time in the Air Force.
My name is Tammy Trychon. I graduated in 1989. I retired from the military as a lieutenant colonel from the U.S. Air Force. I served for over 20 years. My current job, I'm basically retired for right now. We've been moving around a lot. My husband's still active duty. I was a personnel officer, which is basically administrative, a lot of administrative work. And at first I was a little disappointed because I thought I'd be sitting in an office all the time. But as an officer, I was leading teams, finding solutions to challenges, and it was a wonderful experience. I chose to serve because I went to the United States Air Force Academy. And my plan was, if you go to any of the military academies, West Point, Annapolis, or the Air Force Academy, there's no tuition. So I would get to go to school and not have any college loans. When you graduate, you have a 5-year commitment to serve in, for my case, the Air Force. But then I got into the Air Force and I loved what I was doing. I really loved the people that I was working with, the adventure, the excitement, and I loved being in the Air Force. 3 of the highlights would be, number 1, the people that I got to work with. I got to, day to day, the amazing members of the military. They're dedicated, character, honor, work ethic, respect, dignity, courage is wonderful. But also, in all the people that I got to meet and work with, I got to meet some historical figures. For example, one of my friends is Jeannie Leavitt. She just recently retired as a Major General, but she is the first female fighter pilot in the United States Air Force. She and I were squadron commanders together. She flew with my husband, and I've just enjoyed knowing her over the years. When I was a lieutenant, I worked with now General C.Q. Brown. At that time he was a captain, but now he's a general. And last week he was sworn in as the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, which is the highest ranking member of the United States military. I also have a friend, Jack Fisher. He's an astronaut, and he spent time on the International Space Station. But we were stationed with him when he was, young, before he was an astronaut. And we've gotten to know he and his family over the years. Second highlight is the travel for my career. I have traveled not only all over the United States, but all over the world. I've been to 46 states and over 40 countries. And I would say the third highlight is just a lot of the unique experiences that I got to have. Growing up in central Nebraska, I never thought I would be on a ship out of the port of Japan. I've scuba dived and snorkeled in Hawaii, jumped out of an airplane, flown across the Middle East. I got to fly in an F-15 and an F-16. I've been stationed all over the world. My first duty station was actually at the Pentagon in Washington, D.C. Then I was at Air Force Base in North Carolina. I was in Mountain Home Air Force Base, Idaho. Then I was in Hawaii for a while, and then back to North Carolina, then in Las Vegas, and then back to Washington, D.C. at the Pentagon, which is where I retired. And then after that, because my husband's still active duty, then we were in southern Georgia, then we were on the coast in Virginia, back to Washington, D.C., and then we just returned from Poland, where we lived in Warsaw for the last 4 years, and he was at the U.S. Embassy. Separation during deployment's hard. It's hard on every family. We tried to make the best of it. We tried to talk, or we were blessed enough to have email. There were times when we would be emailing each other back and forth, and I would think back to, the veterans that were fighting during World War I and World War II, and their loved ones were at home and they would have to wait weeks or months to be able to get a letter from them to know if they were alive or not. So the fact that we had email and a lot of times we could do phone calls really helped. So you just kind of learn to trust and be patient. I went on, as I got promoted through the ranks, my responsibility got to be a lot bigger, and I ended up being over a lot of the support operations on base. Even straight out, the first couple of months that I was in my first job were wonderful, and I enjoyed every assignment. But I would say probably the time when I realized that I was really glad I was assigned to an aircraft maintenance unit, and my office was right off of where they parked all the aircraft. I remember I was just so proud of the mission, so proud of the work that all of the airmen on our base were doing, and I was proud to be a part of it. On 9/11, I was stationed at Mountain Home Air Force Base in Idaho. Our wing was on what they called standby. So there were people in our wing that were always on 24-hour alert. We had bags packed by the door, ready to go in case anything happened. My husband was one of them. And I remember on the morning of 9/11 driving, there was 12 miles from where our house was to the gate at the base. And I was driving on my way to work, and I had the radio on, and they were talking about the fact that that there was a plane that had flown into one of the towers of the World Trade Center. And I thought, well, that's odd. And listening to the radio a little bit longer, and as soon as they said a second plane had flown into the second tower, I picked up my cell phone and I called my husband and I said, honey, make sure your 24-hour bag is ready. You're leaving. And he goes, what's happening? And I said, turn on the TV. You got to see this. I get to base. He gets dressed super quick because he had a later report time than I did. He gets dressed super quick. He gets on the base just as they're shutting down everything on base, because we don't know who's attacking us. We don't know what's going on. But of course we had to maintain the security of the base. And all day that day, everyone on the base was just on high alert waiting, because everybody knew most of the base was going. We were just waiting to figure out where they were going and how quickly they had to leave. And it actually took about 3 weeks for them to figure out who had done the attacks and a plan for where to go to fight back. And my husband was on one of the first groups of people that we sent out to go to the Middle East. So it was a very tense time, but we were there. It is always nice to feel appreciated, and for people to say thank you, no matter what it is, whether it's something big or something small. Veterans Day is a day when the whole nation can just pause for a day and say thank you to our veterans, and so our veterans feel appreciated. We've had times in our nation's history when veterans weren't treated well and veterans were not thanked, and so it's a day just for people to appreciate the sacrifices that the veterans make. I would just like to say, I think President Ronald Reagan had a very good quote. He said, some people spend their whole lives wondering if they made a difference in the world. The veteran doesn't have that problem.
Thank you to Tammy Trychon for taking the time to talk to us.
Now, for the best band in the land, performing Salute to America's Finest, the official songs of all the U.S. military branches.
Unfortunately, we know we are missing some of our veterans, but as each song plays, we will have a photo of a Northwest alumni in uniform for their respective branch.
Thank you, Mr. Fansteel and the band, for playing such an amazing piece.
And thank you, Northwest alumni, for your service and commitment to America.
Now let's talk to some current Viking students and see what their future plans are in the military. Hey Vikings, welcome to the Veterans Day special edition of Viking in the Village. I'm Emma, and today I'll be interviewing current students who are interested in joining the military. What is your first and last name?
Connor Dramsey,
And what grade are you in?
Junior,
What branch of the military were you planning on going into?
Marine Corps.
And why do you want to go into Marine Corps?
I've had many family members. My birth dad was in the military. He was part of the Marine Corps, and I just want to follow after him and serve and protect the country.
What is your name and what is your grade?
I'm Reese Ruling, and I'm a senior.
Okay, what branch of the military do you want to go into?
I'd like to do the Air Force. I just like watching things fly and stuff like that. And
What do you want to do in the Air Force?
so ideally, I'd be either an AWACS pilot, which is just a giant radar in the sky, because you get to fly a big plane, and that'd be really cool. One of my uncles was in Top Gun, which was really cool. Yeah. Like the actual Top Gun Academy. Yeah. Yeah, so that was really cool.
What is your name?
Clark.
What grade are you in?
I'm in 10th.
So you wanted to go into the military. What branch did you want to go into?
I was thinking Marine Corps for a while, so that's probably it.
And why do you want to go into the military?
Really everything I've heard about it and then benefits about it. And I've had an uncle in it for a while now.
And what did your uncle do?
He's in the Army.
What is your name and what grade are you in?
My name is Jerry Gutierrez, and I am a senior.
When do you plan to enlist in the military?
Sometime next year,
What branch were you planning on going into?
the Army.
And what did you want to do in the Army?
I wanted to join infantry and airborne. An infantry unit, I would be assigned a small squad to create small missions such as ammo supplies and stuff like that. I'm not a big group. I'm a mainly small group. And airborne, I'd be able to be enlisted and deployed a lot easier with that on my rank.
Why did you decide that you wanted to go into the military?
My uncle, he was a 21 Sierra, which was a combat engineer unit. And ever since he told me that he got to blow stuff up and build stuff, I've always wanted to do kind of stuff like that.
Thank you to all current and former Northwest students for your commitment to the United States military.
And thank you to all of our veterans who have served our nation.
Thank you all for watching this special broadcast. I'm Dylan.
And I'm Emma. See you next time.